My name is Mary Song, and to me, coming out of hiding means letting everyone have the freedom to like me or dislike me. That's the big one. That's what makes the heart pound so. Will they like me or dislike me? You have the freedom to approve or disapprove. Hmm. And it also means reclaiming all the energy that I have hidden, all the divine energy I have hidden, and releasing it into compassion. I tell you this because today my topic is coming out of hiding, something I have some things to say, to talk about, and other people will also be speaking up. Before we get into that, though, we'll start with our meditation. So, which is customary, we'll have a 10-minute meditation. I will ring the bell one time to get us started. And then at the end, I will ring the bell twice. And in that 10 minutes, I'll give a little bit of guidance as we go along. So be comfortable, however you may be sitting. Doesn't have to be too fancy or special. And we'll go ahead and get started. So here comes the bell. The resonation of this bell as it dissipates. Let that resonation continue within your feet. So in whatever position your feet are in, mine are flat on the floor, but yours might be folded up. You might be sitting in a meditation posture. You might be lying down or comfortable, one foot there, one there. But whatever the case, don't change it. Just notice sensation arising in the field that we call feet. Let's just take a moment. Now, maybe the mind has already started to tell stories or has drawn you away from that sensation arising from the feet. So we bring the mind back to the sensation. Mind, touching, meeting, sensation. For me, this is a tingling I feel, tingling arising. It's a tingling of life. We train the mind to stay focused. Mind, attention to feet. Thoughts arise, thoughts go. Attention stays to feet. You might very subtly wiggle those toes on the feet. Just subtle, not a big movement. Just notice life energy, sensation. Beautiful feet. And now, in one leap, we will go from feet to hands. And we come to the two energies there, hands, a field we call hands. And without looking at them, we feel sensation arising. Notice the sensation arising there in the hands. Again, it's a tingling sensation, a pulsing. For me. I wiggle the fingers just so subtly, very slightly. No one else needs to see. Sensation rising. The mind stays with sensation. Then let's take one final leap and bring this attention to where you most feel the sensation of breathing. For me, this is right at the entryway of the nostrils. The air enters, the air leaves. But you may prefer the chest area expanding, contracting, or you may prefer the diaphragm rising, falling. And you may say to yourself, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. You may notice thoughts arising. They arise, they go. Back to the breath, attention, touching that sensation, sharp focus. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. In awareness, knowing it. I bow to my teachers. Thank you to Joel and all of you here. Thank you so much. Happy New Year's, everyone. Yay, we made it. We made it. So we're going to be talking about coming out of hiding, which, it can seem like kind of a dangerous subject. I have a little prop over here. Ooh, is this juicy or what? Can you read that? To me, it's backwards, but danger, danger. I keep this handy actually in my studio to look at every so often. What is the danger here? So to get us started, I've asked Nirja to read a poem. And this poem comes from a writing group that we recently did, writing workshop at the center. So I'm going to turn that over to Nirja, and you can tell us how you put this together, Nirja, and then read the poem for us.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So this poem is entitled, What If You Bared Your Truth to the World? And it was created in one of Mary Song's writing workshops. She gave us the prompt to start a writing that was What If You Bared Your Truth to the World? And then everyone wrote for 10 minutes or so. I asked everyone to send me their first line of their writing. And then I put it together. And so that is what I'll be reading to you today. It's the voices of 12 different people here. What if you bared your truth to the world and no one believed you or supported you or understood what you were trying to explain? What if you bared your truth to the world and they loved it? What if you bared your truth to the world and were flat out rejected? They just thought you were a weirdo, and everyone could see that your heart is cold and clammy. What if you bared your truth to the world and the world responded with enthusiasm and respect? What if you bared your truth to the world and no one cared? No one really cared because they are so preoccupied with their own lives and stories. Or no one cared, as in no one judged you or minded or felt unsettled by it in any way. What if you bared your truth to the world and your truth is in the elusive, floating, ghostly fog, shimmering around the windows and ancient Doug firs, whose roots have wrapped around your roots these many years, holding you to this earth, times when you've thought about leaving? What if you bared your truth to the world and nothing happened? Simply nothing, at least in the outer world. What if you bared your truth to the world and lived nakedly? Thank you.
Again, thank you for that. Yeah, live nakedly. That always makes me think of Joel's book, Naked Through the Gate. Can we actually do that? I mean, consider living nakedly. Yes, well, how about literally dropping our clothes? That would be one way to come out of hiding, but on another level, it's pretty profound. So thank you for reading that. So that was 12 different voices that you collected and put together in one piece. Wonderful. Okay, so again, Happy New Year's, everyone. I'm one of those people who love New Year's. New Year's Eve, and then, the next day, New Year's Day, you change all the calendars. And some say, oh, yeah, that's just, made up stuff. Yeah, but, I sort of like that made up stuff. Like when you come to the end of a chapter, you're reading a novel and you come to the end of a chapter, and then you start a new chapter, or you're writing it yourself. That stopping something complete and something then beginning. And during that time, as you well know, people often make New Year's resolutions, right? Did y'all make some resolutions? Often if you've tried it, you often discover they don't last very long. Sometimes they do, because I've had experience where I said I will play the guitar every day for a year, and I did it. And I did that. But there are many times you might say, well, I'm going to, starting January 1st, I'm going to eat less carbs and no sugar at all. Okay. Then some days go by and you think, well, maybe just a little sugar, just a little bit would be okay. And then my birthday's coming up in February, so I can have some sugar then. And then pretty soon you forget all about it. What was my resolution? Oh, yeah, it comes around the next year. I said I was going to cut sugar and it didn't quite work out. This is not everybody, but some of you can identify with that, making a promise and then kind of forgetting all about it. But consider this: what if your New Year's resolution was, this year I am coming out of hiding? Okay. If that very thought strikes fear in your heart, then I know exactly how you feel, because I myself hid for at least 5 decades. 50 years. Oh my God, how can this be true? How can that possibly be true? Does it mean that I set up my home inside of a closet, or like in a cave somewhere, or on a deserted island? I was hiding out all that time. If you can identify with this, you feel like you've been hiding all your life for whatever reason, hiding, pulling back. You know, you know what I mean. So bringing up this topic to other people, I started talking about this subject, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or so. And I would start asking other people, in what ways do you hide? And I went to a writers' conference once. It was 2 weeks of really intense pressure cooker kind of writing workshops we were doing. And I was sitting in an auditorium with a woman, and I said, I have this idea of an anthology, creating this book of collecting stories about people coming out of hiding. And she just stopped for a moment and started to tell me how she had hidden so many years of her life because of domestic violence. So she talked about the literal hiding of bruises, but then all the emotional, psychological stuff, everything being held back. Keep that private. The rest of the world does not see. I never did put the book together. Maybe that's still in the future. But as I continue talking with people about the subject, people hide because weaknesses. We think we have a weakness or a flaw that we must keep private, secret. I might be hiding my real name. I might be hiding my lack of money or my wealth. I might be hiding how smart I am or how not so smart I am. I think I'm not so smart, or whatever the case. Sexual preference, hiding. Political thoughts, spiritual experiences. On it goes. And, none of this would be an issue if it didn't cause suffering. Yeah, we just have a happy time hiding out, no big deal. But if there's suffering, then you begin to ask yourself, oh, now 50 years have gone by. Um, is that the way it ends then? What's the next chapter? What's the next chapter? We hide because we are afraid to be found. But why? So I asked some of the participants in my center writing workshops what coming out of hiding means to them. And the overall answers can be summed up in this one. To me, coming out of hiding means revealing, laying bare my deep longing to love without hindrance, to be and feel loved, to love myself without apology, to know without a doubt that I belong. So, some of you have heard me before talk about how important it was for me to come out of hiding. Why did it take me 6 years to accept Joel's invitation to teach at the center? Why? 6 years? Because it took me 6 years to come out of hiding. There were obstacles in my psyche that I could clearly see. There was a bright light shining there. They were patterns, conditioned things here. I always point to that side of, I don't know what this hemisphere is about, but I always point here. And I knew that the minute Joel asked me that this was going to have to be released. And I said to Joel, I can't step forward as a teacher if I have any secrets. And he said, yes, that's true. Someone recently asked me, well, how did you clear out those things that were in the psyche? What did you do? And my answer is I did nothing. I did nothing. I sat still. I knew it was coming. I knew the universe would conspire to 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 help me with this. And it did, one thing after another. I stood there and watched the final disillusionment of the ego. Now, these were some things that I didn't want to face. The big one was the death of my mother and all the secrets between me and her, and I thought, no, no, not that. But I knew, yes, that's coming. That's it. And other things too. And was I willing to take it? Yes, I was willing to take it. So I wanted to give you some examples of some of the things that I was hiding. I was in hiding about sexual preference because at an early age, I was attracted to other girls more than I was attracted to boys. There were some cute boys, but the love I was feeling was for the same sex. And I was 11 years old when I saw this. I saw that clearly. And I used extraordinary energy in concealing this fact from others for decades. Why? These days, it's a different story. You turn on the television, any movie there it is, no big deal. But then I wrote this down. The DSM, my friends, some are familiar with this, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, before 1968 stated, and maybe I went to the library and even looked this up, it stated that homosexuals suffered from a sociopathic personality disturbance. What does my young mind do with this? And then it was reclassified as a sexual deviation, a mental disorder, words like pervert, that sort of thing. So to my young mind, this meant, oh, mental hospitals. Like if anybody knows about this, mental hospitals, shock therapy, what are they doing? Like lobotomies still? Like I was born in the 50s, so I heard about these things. To me, though, I never felt there was something wrong with with my feelings because what I felt was love. I felt love. Um, and so I didn't look at this and say, something's wrong with me. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. But I did feel this is dangerous. I can't go home and tell mom and dad this. Oh gosh, I hope no one finds out. Or, I have a crush on a girl in junior high. What am I going to do about this? Can't tell anybody. Can't tell anybody. So passing as straight is much safer. I'm not suggesting anybody ever do that, but it's much safer. And it means you lead two lives. One, passing in the heteronormative society. Now, my recent college students have had to educate me about this heteronormative society because, oh my gosh, I didn't have that term when I was growing up. It was just all of them and then there's me. And now I see, oh yeah, because students now will tell me straight out, don't call me he, don't call me she. I'm not a woman. I'm not a man. I won't take those roles. And they're out about it. They're like, speak right up. And I think, oh my gosh, they're free. They're free to speak right up. But to me, one was passing in the heteronormative society, and the other was communing with like-minded women. So as you get a little bit older in your teens, and then later, oh yeah, there's another one and another one, and then we can start kind of communicating and getting together. Okay, so there was that, and with that pulled in so much energy, hiding love. Hiding love. I was also in hiding about what was actually important to me, the call of awakening. I saw this very early in my childhood, the call of awakening. I could speak of it to one or two people, along the way, somebody I could run into who also had this similar calling. But for the most part, it seemed like everyone else was on a different planet. Um, so I was afraid, being laughed at, called a flake, maybe being persecuted. All of that led me to believe it's better not to put that longing right on out there. Like, that's the most important things to me, friends. I didn't do that. I was also in hiding about loving myself, which is, this is strange, isn't it? I'm hiding love, even loving myself. Um, I always loved myself, and I always cared for myself. And I thought I needed to hide that from other people. What would they think of me? Because they didn't necessarily feel good about themselves. That's what was astonishing to me as a teenager. Some friends were saying how much they hated themselves, and I was like, what? And so I thought, well, I better not just say, oh, well, I don't feel that way. I love myself. Because they would say I was conceited, or, I was afraid what they would think. She's so full of herself, thinks so much. But actually, it wasn't, that's not what I was feeling. It was just love, radiant, radiant love. Now, later in life, I was also in hiding about having an autoimmune disorder, which, by the way, struck me during a 10-day silent Vipassana retreat. But I wouldn't want to tell you all about it because I didn't want you to think I was weak and flawed and there was something wrong with Mary Song. So I basically sat on that for 10 years. Maybe a couple of people knew I had to see, a doctor, but, I didn't make any big deal about it. Pull the energy back in. Pull the energy back in, which means being rather reclusive. I was also in hiding about Joel asking me to teach, which happened in 2014. Better not let that out because then everybody's going to start talking about it and judging me about it, right? Judging me about it. Oh, who does she think she is? That's her. That's what was going through. I could see that in those structures here, that fear of being criticized and judged. So I was in hiding about loving everybody and everything, loving the earth, loving the body, um, loving life. I pretended to be interested in academia. And so I spent so many years teaching college level English, literature, composition, and creative writing. I was never interested in academia. That was never true. And I spent all that time being worried the administration was going to find out I was a fake academic, which was true. So I was afraid of the truth being discovered. Never happened, my friends. All those times I worried I was going to get called in on being a compassionate mystic in the classroom. It didn't happen. Why did I hide all these things? Why do you hide things? I hid because I was afraid of what you would think of me. I can only see a small strip of y'all right now, but I can see some faces. I was afraid of what you would think of me, and you get to represent all the others, what all the others would think of me. All of you have minds that are capable of judging and criticizing, and I know that because I have watched my own mind judge and criticize people. And I knew that whatever I dished out about others could be dished out back at me. It's like when you know how your mind works, you get a good idea how other people's minds work. So if I had never judged anybody or criticized anybody, then I may not have occurred to me. But in fact, now you might say, "Oh, I'm not hiding anything. I don't care what anybody thinks of me." And I've heard people say that. I don't care what anybody thinks of me. But if there's an edge of anger to that, that tells me that, well, you're angry. You actually are hiding something. You do care. You do care what people think. And there's an anger there as a message to you. So I want to share a quote with you from a book by Adyashanti called The End of Your World, which is a great title. Like, where would you pick that up in the library or the bookstore? The End of Your World. It's like saying, you want to be on the spiritual path, consider the end of your world, my friends. And I had listened to this book on audio many, many times. And this one short section always made my ears just perk right up, just like a cat's ears. Like, I hear something that's so important. And so I will read this to you, just 2 paragraphs. Adyashanti says, part of awakening, if it is true and authentic, is the gift of freedom to the whole world. Upon awakening, freedom is given to everybody. True freedom isn't simply I'm free. True freedom is everything is free. This means that everybody has the freedom to be who they are, whether they are awake or not awake, deluded or not deluded. Now, here's the important part. Part of allowing the whole world to wake up is recognizing that the whole world is free. Everybody is free to be as they are. Until the whole world is free to agree with you or disagree with you, until you have given the freedom to everyone to like you or not like you, to love you or hate you, to see things differently, until you have given the whole world its freedom, you'll never have your freedom. Goosebumps again. You want freedom? Yeah, we all want freedom. We got to give the whole world its freedom to not like you, to not like me. And, you know, right now, someone watching me, oh, I don't like this or whatever. I let that, that's okay. I'll accept that. I've learned this. If you want freedom from seeking approval, from hiding from what others think of you, you have to give them freedom to dislike you, to reject you. If you cannot give them that freedom, then you use tremendous energy protecting what you hide and tremendous energy blaming them for not liking you, for rejecting you, and tremendous energy trying to get them to like you. Every day, your energy does not go to how may I serve. It goes to how may I manipulate what others think of me, and how can I just stay out of the way, or how can I stay out of the way? Either manipulate how they see me, or how can I stay out of the way so they don't see me? They don't target me. I'm just, you know, hmm. So some of you can identify with that. I think about going to center parties when you remember the old days, we went to the big building on Saratoga. We'd have, you know, the food all spread out and music. And so if you're like me, you might have walked in there and you might go to the food table and, you know, and just start, you know, I'm interested in food, my friends. So I'm going to be doing some eating over here, right? And in that way, you disappear a little bit. You're not being a target, right? Or sometimes I went to those parties and I thought, I am going to go up and talk to someone and just be casual and open. I'm just going to go up and talk. And so I'd start talking and they'd talk. And then they'd say, oh, I have to go do something over here. And I would feel, you know, they didn't like talking to me. You know, all these little things that we do. So we hide or we try to manipulate how we see each other. So speaking of targets, I heard Joel talk about targets. Joel, it was something like this. You said if you set a red target out in a field with a bullseye on it, it's more likely to get hit by an arrow. Or maybe if you wear it around on your back, that's more likely to get hit by an arrow. If you set a green target out there in the field, it's less likely to be seen and less likely to be hit, but still could be hit. But if you set no target out there, there's no target, then the arrows would just swoosh through the air. No target is hit because there's no target. If there is no self, what can be hit? What can be hurt? What can be hidden? What can be criticized? What can be rejected? Joel said, and this is a quote from a talk Joel gave in 1994. I'll tell you more later. He said, when you stop being a target for the attack, and when you stop fighting back from a self-centered position and you go as nothing, you find a remarkable thing. That nothing is love. That spaciousness, the nature of it, is love in itself. These are Joel's words quoted. He went on to say, if there is no target there, not only will other people's anger not stick, or other people's judgments or criticism, your own anger won't stick. Nothing there to stick to, like thoughts arising, thoughts going. Quote, Joel said, go as nothing. It's simply to say, go as who you truly are, what you truly are. He said, it's just a teaching about be yourself. And then Joel quoted Kalu Rinpoche saying, the end of the spiritual path is when you realize you are nothing. And in realizing you are nothing, you are everything. Joel said, "Go as nothing, and you will see you are everything." So I wish you could see the goosebumps that just popped out all over me. This talk is available on the center's page under audio. You can look for it. It's titled "Go as Nothing," and it was recorded May 29th, 1994. I was 40 years old. So I was 39 when I came to the center, about 6 months prior. Joel gave me this teaching when I was 40 years old, so 26 years ago. And Joel, I just listened to the talk again, and I just was so struck by it because I was being given this teaching. It was all I needed. But I wasn't ready to come out of hiding. That's the story I think that unfolds for me here. I was given it. Thank you, Joel. What great good fortune. I mean, it's great good fortune to receive these teachings, to have teachers. And in Joel's case, um, I, I'm just recalling how we sat there on the floor and had these very, very fabulous teachings with Joel, which we still do. I'm not sitting on the floor, but these fabulous teachings come to us. So I'm a little lost in my vision of that now. But coming back to my notes, I just recently asked Joel, so I don't know, a month ago or so, I emailed him and asked him, why do we hide from the divine? Why are we doing that? I mean, we, psychologically, I'm hiding, psychologically, but why are we hiding from the divine? Because I was having this calling when I was, a child and everything. And Joel said this, here's a quote: "From the ultimate point of view, there are no beings hiding from the divine. There's only the divine playing at hiding from itself and then finding itself for the sheer joy of it." So you've heard Joel, probably you all have heard Joel talk about this cosmic hide and seek game going on. But he goes on here, this is very important to what I'm saying in this talk. From a relative point of view, however, we could say that when the form in which the formless divine hides itself, that is in the human ego, the ego self, when that falls under delusion and comes to believe in its own autonomous existence, then the reason it stays hidden from the divine is that it fears discovering it doesn't ultimately exist. Oh, yeah, that's it. That's liberation. So I want to come back to that New Year's resolution. What if you had the resolution, I'm going to come out of hiding this year? Okay, so I have a little prop to use. Can you all see that clearly? This is a set of Russian nesting dolls. So I wanted to use this as a demonstration. Um, okay, just going to play act here a little bit. So, okay, I'm going to come out of hiding this year. I'm really afraid of speaking in front of people. So I'm going to volunteer to get up and speak in front of people and face my fear. Okay, so, I'm going to take out this outer, there I am, my authentic self. There I am. I knew it. I was in there all along. There I am, my authentic self. Wait a minute. What else am I in hiding about? I didn't really want people to know that I love myself because I'm afraid of what they think. So I think there's another layer to peel back. Yep. Just like an onion, right? Peeling the layers. Okay, this must be my authentic self now. There she is. That looks about right, about the right size. But you know what? I have always uh, withheld information that I've been jealous of other people. So I'm going to come out about that and just admit it, talk about it. I knew there'd be another doll inside there. This is my true self, authentic, coming out into the light. Hmm. I've never told anyone that I actually love poison ivy. You know, this is not a teaching about going around and forcing all of your truths on other people. Like, listen, you, let me tell you all about. That's not really what it's about. But looking at our layers, this is a story, right? We're telling ourselves, I've got this, I've got that, all these stuff in here. This is all a big story that needs to unfold, come out. And so, I'm afraid, generally speaking, of what you think of me. Oh, another doll. There we go. This is it. This is my genuine self. Tiny than a tiny little doll. But you know what? I'm really afraid that I don't exist at all. That the story of I is a work of fiction. It's a work of fiction, which I like. I like fiction. That's it. No doll. No doll. Whew. When hiding disappears, so too does the one who needs to be hidden. Oh, what joy! I feel such joy to say that to you. In summary, in my story of I in hiding, my story of I in hiding, on the relative plane, I feared rejection, shunning, criticism. Some people fear for their lives and for their sanity, and for good reason. You know, people have been put to death for homosexuality, or for racial or religious heritage. On the relative plane, there have been reasons why people hide for good reason. But ultimately, when I came out of hiding, nothing happened. I mean, people didn't line up to criticize me. The earth didn't tilt on its axis. It's true that some people may reject me, think, well, I don't, she's not for me or whatever. But I was not burned at the stake like in that other life that I sometimes seem to remember, or being stoned to death, that kind of thing. Instead, everything remained as it is. I saw the fiction of myself, the one who hid, and that same self who longed to be found. When the hiding dissolves, so too does that story. So there goes that suffering. So too does that self. There is no one to hide and no one to be found. And in my case, all the divine energy that had been crimped and cramped into tiny spaces all those years came pouring out. When your doors and windows are all wide open, the words of truth can flow like a light, sweet summer's breeze, like music you have always longed to hear. I want you to know this, it takes a lot of energy to hide. Let go of the hiding, let go of the self, and the energy of life flows. Thank you for listening to this story of hiding that I told. I have in front of me all these doll pieces here, all these pieces in front of me. That's okay. That's okay. Now, I have talked long enough about myself. I have ready Shannon is going to join me. Shannon, hi. Greetings. Let's get her microphone open.
Hi.
Hi, how are you feeling?
I am feeling really surprisingly good. That's part of the
Wonderful.
process of doing this.
Hmm.
It's,
Hmm.
it's been a journey.
Yes.
It has really been a journey, and it will probably be continue after today as well. It just keeps reverberating like ripples. It just seems to go into every crevice and corner of the
Yes.
conditioned apparatus.
Yes.
Hmm.
So Shannon is someone who's worked with me several times in the spiritual writing workshops we've been doing at the center, which is all about seeing the fiction of the self, of the small self, what the story of I, to see the fiction of that. And one of the themes that I have brought up several times, I think with groups you've been in, Shannon, is that coming out of hiding. And we also did seeking approval, um, negative thinking, and some other things recently. But you wrote a piece recently as a result of our last group that ended in December. And you're going to read that for us, and we'll sit back and have a listen to this creative writing by Shannon, and then you can say a few words about it.
Okay. The prompt from Mary's song, there was a prompt every day. And this particular prompt no way I could know when the secret was to be blown to smithereens. But here it was, the moment. No amount of strength this time could fend the tidal wave, which had been gaining momentum since the day I flunked and became a fourth grade nothing. From that day, doubt and insecurity galore reigned as I aimlessly roamed the school grounds alone in alienation. It had its first clear and strong appearance when first hubby went out with old girlfriend, and not only without me, they were late in return. The burning that ensued, torture. It was jealousy. I was jealous. It had plopped itself in the middle of my living room. That was some 30 years ago. Fast forward, yet painful as this is written, here again, the burning, my crucible, only this time no longer tolerable to endure time and time again. I must get to the bottom. I was no longer able or willing to suffer needlessly, endlessly. As I reached out to explore and release this old, craftily hidden secret, the very notion of this concept, heretofore riddled with shame, hurt, stigma, shame, anger, shame, began to morph. I yelled out to the world, I am jealous, and see me, I am whole innocence. And with the help of angels in my fortunate life, the severe constriction that had been unconsciously built and carried as burden began to ease. Again, more. Could it be a natural instinct rather than sticky stings, as one had suggested, a way to be included, connected, a way to accept the mystery of moving beyond the story of feeling left out, abandoned, rejected, a way to honor the needs of another in a selfless and loving gesture. And now, with the opportunity to deeply emerge from this hiding, guess what? Here in my sweet face, another woman, a longtime friend, I had judged as cruel, my ego's favored source of selfing, available to converse. Would I tell her I've been jealous, hurt, left out, excluded, dishonored, disrespected? How vulnerable could I be? In the moment, I would discern, but one thing was for certain: I would come clean. This whole notion was coming apart, disconnecting from that old carriage of doubt and insecurity, that packaged bundle. It was transforming before my very eyes into a caring love that was swelling in scope and depth. How had I missed this after all the years of toil? Even, yes, through breakdowns and breakthroughs. I don't know. I no longer care to know. And the past was releasing itself. I felt my heart open, the vibrating field alive in restful being. And this is an addendum. Success at failure, a marvelous thing, the wonder of it all. This game of pretend. Now I truly embrace you, the fourth grade nothing. I
Aha.
am the fourth grade nothing.
I wish we could all have a loud applause. Yeah, I can see some hands going. Thank you for that, Shannon. And
Thank you for listening.
thank you so much. And you read this and also sent it out to our writing workshop as a practice. So you were practicing. You took this up and you, as the teachings we were doing, and you went to work on it, practicing this, opening up. And then you told me, or you told us, that later you were in the shower and you just felt your whole body come alive. Remember that?
No, I do.
Can you say something
Yeah.
about that?
It's still been releasing.
Mm-hmm.
It started as a slowing down and just wanting to be really present, just not even wanting it, just kind of like a wash.
Yeah.
Um, and there was some just sense of ease. And even just this morning walking, it was so clear and so beautiful and so fresh and clean outside. And it was this perfect matching picture of how I feel inside, because this was such a huge chunk
Mm-hmm.
that fell away. And when that happens, it shakes up the whole system. It sort of can clean things out. It just, yeah,
We can hide
there
something
was,
for
there's just,
we can hide something for so long that we forget that we're hiding it. It's not doesn't really come to mind when someone says, "What are you hiding?" And yet there it is, a piece that apparently was ready to shift and brought you into a greater sense of presence. True?
definitely so. And it's addicting. I mean, it's like I just want to keep sharing whatever that I've been hiding. And you
Yeah.
alluded to all these little sensitive ways that we hardly are even aware. They've become such a part of everyday operation, like, oh, what will they think? Or I don't want them to think this, or, just being authentic is what happens. And then it's like, I just love that little fourth grade nothing.
Yeah.
It's like she has become extremely precious to me. I've even started wearing my hair in ponytails, because I used to wear my hair in ponytails when it was in the fourth grade, just to honor her. She's very alive now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Something gets turned inside out.
Remember this, Shannon. The fourth grade nothing, what's
Yeah.
inside of it?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Hmm.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And as Joel said, that nothing is love. That spaciousness, that emptiness, that
Yeah.
is love. So we do create all these containers. I have all these doll pieces here, all these containers. And then, as a practice, we can begin to open, peel away. But it's not as though we're trying to create a better version of myself,
No.
right?
Mm-mm.
It's
No.
not that I'm trying to be more kind or more thoughtful. That's
More
not,
perfect. No.
yeah, it's that emptiness at the end.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I thank you for that. Thank you so much.
Gosh, I thank you. And I just have to say, it's partly your fault, Mary Song, because I
Me?
went to Mary Song to do a one-on-one. I mean, we had a phone. And then you invited me to write a piece on it where I would just completely open myself up and be completely vulnerable and naked, to use your words. And then she invited me to read that to everybody, and then it just kept going and going. And now she invites me to read it to all of
Yeah.
you. So I felt remarkably calm this
Mhm.
morning. I
Yeah. So from my end, you look like you froze up there, Shannon. Does other people see it that way? Okay,
Oh,
so
did I? Am I?
yeah, there you froze. But it was very dramatic. Good way to end, like just kind of freezing there on the screen. But thank you for that. I'm going to open up dialoguing with everybody here. I wanted to put out the question to the greater audience now. What are some ways in which you hide or have come out of hiding, or have you noticed suffering around the issue of hiding? I mean, if you're willing to speak about it. Now, one person I have already willing to speak about it is Laura Betty. So Laura was going to come on first. And then everyone else, if you feel like this would be a good time for you to share, you can raise your hand and Tom will be opening your mics up for you. Okay, so we'll have some discussion from there. So hi, Laura.
Mary Song.
How are you doing?
Opportunity to come out of hiding and speak in
Yes.
public.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one.
So I wrote this little thing about some places where I have come out of hiding,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about 3 minutes long. So
Okay,
bear with me.
sounds good.
Coming out of hiding is to come out of my projected self-image, to pay attention to the stuff that I'm saying to myself, whether it's good or bad. To me, this means looking at the scary stuff straight on. Feel the fear, trust the universe, consciousness itself will provide whatever appropriate action. And so far, the results have been a surprise. Coming out of hiding certainly can have many meanings. For me, now, it's facing my fears and emotions. Like many, my fears and emotions feed my head. My stories, the story of I, the image of who I think I am, all this basically dictates my behavior, especially when I'm under emotional distress. And then there's more stories. I am a student of progress, but these are two approaches that I've experienced to help me to come out of my hiding. First was one that at a moment of noticing a negative thought stories that were streaming through a heated emotional outburst, somehow our our meditational practices bubbled into my consciousness. And in that space, my whole attention was turned around and the focus that was on me went to the other person. The whole emotional picture changed. There was no Laura. There was just the other person with tenderness. The second approach mostly came from a class that I had taken with Maura called Untangling Emotions. We used the work from Shinsen Young from his book Science of Enlightenment. We explored bodily sensations. I usually bypass the actual feelings in my body when strong emotions occur. I'm usually in my head space, not in my body space. And even if the emotion in my body, even if I feel the emotion in my body, it's never the focus of my attention. My story, maintaining my self image, the story of I, has been the focus. Maura also introduced us to the work of Locke Kelly, Shift into Freedom. We were invited to drop into our heart space and talk to our troubling emotions. We used 4 sentences and it can apply to any emotion. And I'm going to use the emotion of fear. I am fear. I feel fear. I'm aware of fear and I welcome fear. So I had this dream of total fear. I woke up in a fear panic. I fell asleep again. The same thing happened. I woke up in total panic. This time I told myself to face my fears, and then I went back to sleep. The same panic fear occurred, but this time when I felt the fear, I said, I'm afraid. I feel fear. I'm aware of fear, and I welcome this fear. And the fear left. I woke up in the morning remembering what happened. I have no idea what I was afraid of when I was dreaming. I feel like I have a couple of reliable tools in my toolbox. My coming out of hiding is to learn the clues and using the methods to see where I'm hiding behind my self-image. When my mind starts a stream of negative thoughts, the most important thing for me to do is first notice it, let the thoughts liberate, experience the spaciousness, and then see what happens. The shift has taken the focus of attention on me to others. And when overcoming a strong emotion, I'm learning to notice it, to feel it, to welcome it. The shift out of my headspace to a concern to others. The shift out of my headspace has been to a concern of others and into a space of peace. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Applause for you. That would be a wonderful thing, actually, I think, to submit to the center newsletter. So many good teachings there. And I applaud your willingness to face the scary stuff straight on, as you say, because it, can hold up the danger sign again. And again, sometimes there's a reason why we want to stay hidden from something because of actual physical danger. So we have to be discerning about that. But from what you're saying, you were willing to face the scary stuff straight on. You began to have increased awareness of your negative thoughts arising, how you maintain the story of I. And then you talk about the dream, the panic dream, and becoming more aware of fear and embracing the fear, inviting it to you. So that's beautiful. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. So I want to open it up now to other folks who may have an example they'd like to give, or sometimes they've tried it, didn't work, or times when you thought about this subject coming out of hiding, or maybe you're thinking of it in a new way now. So if some hands went up over here, I'm looking at the sidebar, then Tom can open your microphone for you. Anybody want to share? Or some of the writing participants that I have had, and maybe you have a piece that you would like to read. Yeah. Nancy Miller.
Okay,
so
what I've come up against a lot lately are very, very strong feelings that in the past have completely shut me down. Just I won't talk, I won't communicate, I won't anything. And instead of letting those feelings do that to me, I've been willing to experience whatever they are and let them flow and see what comes of them rather than hiding from them. And generally speaking, it's always positive. The resulting experiences are positive. They aren't negative. And it kind of, I think what it is doing is dissolving that ego thing, because there's a whole lot of openness that comes with allowing those feelings, allowing myself to deeply feel those feelings. So that's all
How did you get to that point, Nancy? How'd you get all this ball rolling?
So what was happening was I started getting to know this person and having a lot of feelings about them, and I did not want to have these feelings about this person. I just did not. I really, really did not want to have them, and I was fighting it tooth and nail. And the thing that started to happen was I was making myself sick by not accepting those feelings. It wasn't a matter of I made a decision, now I'm going, it was like I had to accept those feelings because I was going to make me sick if I did not. And that's kind of how it unraveled. That's,
Okay.
I accepted it, I let myself feel it, I, experienced it. And I can see that that's, that was one situation, but I can see that is valid in many situations for me. Whenever I'm feeling fear or terror around a situation or something that's threatening to shut me down, I'm trying to go toward it and experience it, because those are the lessons I need in order to grow to be a bigger and more open person. So that's what I'm finding.
Okay. Thank you for that. Wonderful. Wonderful. Let me know how it continues to go.
I will.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have an example or something they want to bring up on this subject, coming out of hiding, or go as nothing, because it turns out to be the same teaching after all, just in different packaging. Anybody? Yeah, I see Aruna Beth's hand has gone up. Greetings, friend.
Hi.
Hi.
I really appreciated the little doll.
Isn't that something?
I had one of those for years until it fell apart, but
Oh.
just I sort of understood things that, like this process of befriending whatever is there, and then there's something more to befriend. And, I just really appreciated it. There was, I guess, there's a little child in me that likes the simple teaching of that.
Yeah.
And that can, and that sort of knows about that vast experience when it's nothing too, so. And I appreciate your talk. And when I was young, was a very deeply spiritual kid, although I was in a difficult family, so it was very emotional. But in my times alone, out in the sky, under the stars and stuff, it was just, everything was so vast. And I've always, was looking for the meaning of life ever since I can remember.
Yeah.
And it was sort of an odd thing to be like that. So it didn't, it was but in terms of I loved your talk and your sharing and everybody else's. And for me, it's sitting in, not running away so much from whatever feeling comes, and holding it. And the little trick I've been using, I think it's a trick but I needed this trick of just saying, oh, I'm feeling this feeling that I don't want to feel. May all beings that have felt that feeling be free from suffering.
Yes.
So when I can do that, then I can hold myself. But but I think it's a trick, because it's like I have to do that first, just sitting with it. And maybe, I don't know, it's just a process. There's so many things stored in the body that I don't even know until, I guess this time of COVID, there's not a lot of distraction other than like Zoom and being on the computer. I mean, in terms of people and events. And so it's like being face to face with that. So, and I'm sort of sitting too, because one of the reasons it's been hard for me to share my truth is there's so much pain and suffering around sexual abuse and all this stuff. And I'm thinking if psychotherapy could be reframed in a way that held the spiritual part, so it's not about solidifying the self, you know what I mean?
Right.
At some point,
Yes.
but
Not another doll.
right. But to
empty.
find a person who is skilled in that, because there is so much, I didn't realize how much I'm still carrying over situations that happened when I was 12 or 13 that I didn't want anyone to know about, because it was so much shame, and how much anger I have towards the people, rage, the people who did those things. So, So anyways, but at the same time, it's like, may all beings who've ever felt this be free. And then it's like, I can hold the whole thing.
That's a
But
wonderful practice when you have an intense emotion to consider that all over the planet, as we imagine the planet, the world to be, there are people feeling the same sense of suffering, whether it's grief or rejection, whatever it is. And in so imagining that, you have the opportunity to send out loving compassion to the world, but also realizing it's not about you in your little mouse hole, hiding with the cat on the outside. I have that image of a cartoon cat, maybe Sylvester is outside the mouse hole, and then the mouse is inside peeking out to see if it can come out. So sometimes I have felt that way. I'm afraid of the cat or whatever dangerous force is out there. However, all of that can disappear when you let go of that story, let go of the story. And also, Aruna Beth, you and I were both students of Ruth Dennis, and we still are. I mean, it still continues. And one of the main things she taught us was that it's in the simple things. Okay, so these little simple dolls, it's the simple things that tell the reason we are here. And so, it's a virtual sound that you have. See this water, the simple stories thing has the message for us, right?
yes,
Of why we're here and how to and somehow telling us how to be authentic.
yes. And present in the moment, because you can get carried away with all the stories and the whatever, the sufferings of the sufferings.
That's it.
And,
That's it.
and before this thing, I was actually singing that song to myself before you
Yeah.
started, because I was like, because I associate you with Ruth. And so,
Would you sing that song for us? Is I know you're a singer, so I think I
oh,
wouldn't ask anybody to just suddenly sing, but you're a singer. I know, brings up. Yeah, go ahead.
lay low to the ground. Now I forget the next one. Don't go.
Don't go far away from the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
the simple things, she says,
simple things that are
that tell the reason we are here.
it's the simple things that are keeping us whole.
Yes. Go
Stay
ahead.
low to the ground, live close to the earth. Don't go far away from your heart. It's the simple things that tell the reason we are here. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole.
Oh, thank you so much. Again, I'm covered with goosebumps. That's such a beautiful teaching. And we can be so distraught in our story of I and all the things I'm hiding and this and that, but it's the simple things. She would make that motion like, I don't know what she was doing, but little simple things. And she would have us sing that song over and over and go through these motions with her. And it worked because it stuck in our minds. So at a time of suffering, what arises? Well, you can take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. You can also sing this song, right?
Thank
And
you.
it's a wonderful thing. So thank you for that sharing, Aruna Beth. Thank you. Beautiful. So I thank you all for being with me today and letting me say all these things out loud. I look forward to seeing you all again. Some of you I'm working with in writing workshops. And I'm open to being contacted as a teacher at the Center for Sacred Sciences through email, especially. And yeah, if you have any questions or comments, you can get a hold of me. So let's go ahead and bring this to a close. And Joel, I'm going to just slow down this bow that we do just ever so slowly, because even in an action like this, we have the opportunity to cultivate awareness to sensation of the body. I feel my hands in a big way, and they're slowly, slowly coming together. You can almost feel a magnetism pulling them together like this. and then they meet. Oh, beautiful cosmic meeting. And down to the fabulous heart center, and we bow. I thank you, Joel, and all the powers that be at the center, Jennifer, Tom, and others, everybody. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.